Morena, and good morning, Chair and members of the Justice Committee. My name is Lee Short and I'm the Chair of Democracy Action. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning. Firstly, I'd like to begin by thanking the ACT Party for having the integrity and the foresight to give the people of New Zealand the opportunity to have a say on the principles of the treaty. The general public has never been given such an opportunity before now, despite the significant impact the principles as defined by the Waitangi Tribunal and the courts are having on our Constitution and our rights, including the undermining of the fundamental principles of democracy and equality of citizenship. This country belongs to all its citizens, and we, all of us, should be given the opportunity to determine the direction of our own nation. Democracy Action supports the bill, though with reservations specific to Principle 2, and I'll explain why this is so in a moment. When the Te Reti o Waitangi was signed in 1840, a cloak of governance was spread across the country, unifying it under one government for the first time. As shown by the recorded statements of rangatira at Waitangi and evidence in the archives of the British and New Zealand governments, the more than 500 chiefs who signed were willing to accept the British system of law and government. This was confirmed and endorsed by the chiefs who gathered at Kohimaramara for a month in 1860. All 112 chiefs present at the conference unanimously pledged to do nothing inconsistent with their declared recognition of the Queen's sovereignty and of the union of the two races. This commitment was reiterated a century later by Sir Apirana Ngata, who stated that Maori ceded sovereignty by signing Te Tiriti. During a speech commemorating the treaty's centenary, Sir Apirana emphasised the importance of this understanding by stating, Clause 1 of the treaty handed over the mana and the sovereignty of New Zealand to Queen Victoria and her descendants forever. That is the outstanding fact today. Since the signing of the treaty, over time our country has evolved into an independent sovereign nation with a democratic system where the authority to govern is derived from the people. For all intents and purposes, the term the Crown now represents the collective voice of the people of New Zealand, making all citizens a part of the sovereignty entity. We at Democracy Action support Principle 1. The Government of New Zealand has the full power to govern and the Parliament has the full power to make laws. Our existing system of government is under serious threat. There are moves afoot to transform the Constitution of New Zealand, aiming to establish a system of two separate race-based governments operating under entirely different systems to jointly govern the nation. The concept of dual sovereignty has been promoted by the Waitangi Tribunal, the Iwi Chairs Forum and their Matiki Mai report, and in the He Purpur report commissioned by the Labour government in 2019. This approach is further reflected in the policy of co-governance, which signals a departure from equality and democracy. The claim by some that such a transformed constitution will benefit all New Zealanders, that it is good for all of us, is not true. It is not to the benefit of other New Zealanders to lose our democracy and equality to a specific group in a nation divided by race. As warned by our former Labour Prime Minister David Lange in 2000, we can have a democratic form of government or we can have an Indigenous sovereignty. They can't coexist and we can't have them both. Our history is being rewritten. Various modern interpretations of the Treaty of Waitangi have fundamentally altered its original intent, that of unity and equality, transforming it into a tool of division instead. We as a people living together in New Zealand today must stand against the notion of being governed from beyond the grave, to be required to follow a dated and disputed text. It is essential that we assert our right to self-determination, that we, all of us, have the freedom to decide for ourselves for our time. The idea of a well-defined guiding principles points in the right direction. I therefore submit that Principle 1 advance to a nationwide referendum. Democracy Action also supports Principle 3, the right to equality. Principle 3 reflects Article 3 of the treaty, whereby all the people in New Zealand gain the rights and privileges of British citizenship. This is a clear statement of equality. The concept of equality has long been accepted as a key to a peaceful human society. This universal accord is made clear in the Article 1 of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states, "All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights." Furthermore, the comprehensive condemnation of inequality based on race is found in the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. In a statement by the General Assembly, I quote, "Affirming that all doctrines, policies and practices based on or advocating superiority of peoples or individuals on the basis of national origin or racial, religious, ethnic or cultural differences are racist, scientifically false, legally invalid, morally condemnable and socially unjust." This is further emphasised in the last paragraph, which makes it clear that any claim to Indigenous status is secondary to the fundamental principles of equality and democracy. And I quote, "The provisions set forth in this declaration shall be interpreted in accordance with the principles of justice, democracy, respect for human rights, equality, non-discrimination, good governance and good faith." The idea of equality within our democratic system has faced significant challenges over the last 50 years. Equality has been gradually eroded. It has been compromised by both major political parties as they endorse policies that discriminate based on race. For instance, the National Party did so by repealing the Foreshore and Seabed Act and implementing the Marine and Coastal Area Act, while the Labour government has demonstrated a strong commitment to separate race-based policies. There is nothing more precious to a people and a nation than the common belief of all that we are equal, that we are each and every one of us belong here. This land is our land, along with all the commons, the lakes, the rivers, the beaches, the bush, the mountains and the sea. Therefore we submit that Principle 3 advance to a nationwide referenda. Now I'll address Principle 2, rights of Hapu and Iwi Māori. The Crown recognises the rights that Hapu and Iwi had when they signed the treaty, Te Tiriti. The Crown will respect and protect those rights. Those rights differ from the rights that everyone has a reasonable expectation to enjoy only when they are specified in treaty settlements. This principle raises significant concerns, as outlined in our written submission. Initially, when the treaty settlements process began, most New Zealanders found the settlements largely acceptable. However, since 2010, there's been an increasing trend to incorporate co-governance and similar arrangements into these settlements, without consulting, let alone seeking the consent of the people. While we support cultural and commercial redress for treaty breaches, we do not support settlements that are of a constitutional or political nature. The move towards institutionalising a 50-50 co-governance model based on race poses a significant threat to our democracy by eroding the democratic rights of other New Zealanders. It disregards the critical principle of proportionality and contravenes Section 19(1) of the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act, which guarantees freedom from racial discrimination. Moreover, with many settlements still pending, there is a risk that the provisions of Principle 2 could be used to circumvent the obligations specified in Principles 1 and 3. Therefore, Democracy Action does not support Principle 2 of the bill, but it does support the Act Party's original Principle 2, as outlined in the Coalition Agreement, and arguably the one Act was elected to advance, and which reflects Article 2 of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and that is, the New Zealand Government will protect all New Zealanders' authority over their land and other property. In conclusion, we support three basic principles. They are: the New Zealand Government has the right to govern New Zealand. The New Zealand Government will protect all New Zealanders' authority over their land and other property. And New Zealanders are equal under the law with the same rights and duties. We submit that these three principles advance to a nationwide referendum. Thank you.